Hello, everybody. Just getting everybody logged on. Hello, good morning. Good afternoon. Hold on, some more people are coming in. Admit all. I hope you guys can hear me okay. I just keep hitting admit, 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 admit. Are we all in here? How's everybody doing today? No comments, huh? Does anybody have any questions they want to ask right out of the gate? All right, next question. Can you guys hear me okay? Somebody say something so I know this thing works. Good morning, hello. Hi, Allie. Okay, everybody can hear me. Everybody's in here. Let's do this. My hair's a mess. It's hot today. Whew. Two things I want to talk to you guys about. First and foremost, hang on, I'm letting people in still. Hang on. Hello and welcome. We're just getting everybody logged on, guys. And I'm sure we'll have a couple more. Allie, you have a question? What do you got? You can unmute yourself or you can type it, whatever's easier for you. Just please mute yourself again when you're done. Today, I'm going to talk about two things. I'm going to talk about Civil Code 1479.04.5, and we're also going to talk about California Civil Code 1946.6. Life is good. Your tenants are gone. Everybody give a kudos shout out to Cliff Chapman. He did not have to do an eviction. Yay. All right, let's see what you're talking about, Allie. There was a newly introduced bill in February that would prohibit landlords from using credit reports while screening prospective applicants. Yes, I'm aware of this. It would also ban property owners for asking anything that would be included in a report, such as payment, a history, evictions. As to my knowledge, March 8, 2022, the California Apartment Association has stopped the legislation that prohibited landlords from using credit reports as part of the tenant screening process. Yes, but you're talking about one assembly bill here. There are four in regards to this. Okay, so the one that would prohibit landlords from using credit reports when doing screening fell on its face in the House of the Assembly. So it is now done. That is not going to be an issue. Where it's becoming a little bit more tricky is they're talking about using it or allowing no credit reports on, hold on a minute, low income housing, like tax credit properties and things like that. They're now trying to say, why are you running their credit? You know, it's crap to begin with. So they may do that for low income housing. I'm letting more people in, just bear with me. But for the most part, it fell on its face on the House of the Assembly. We can still use credit reports in our screening tactics. Why are they doing that for just low income housing? Their credit sucks anyway. Okay. If you're going to hold that information against them, then you shouldn't be in low income housing. Okay. It's very simple statement, but here becomes my argument. Okay. If me as a landlord can't run your credit as a tenant, then I don't want my lender to run credit when I go buy something. Apples for apples, right? So that's why it didn't pass. So don't worry, we can still use credit reports. They are trying to implement that in tax credit properties, low income housing, etc. The reason being, it makes sense. Why run their credit? You know, it's crap. Just saying. That's why they're in low income housing. But you never know. Sometimes somebody may surprise you. I had a gal on Section 8 once with a 740 FICO score. And her response was, I live within my means. She had a good response. I will tell you this, that house was left immaculate when she vacated. Immaculate. It is that kind of tenant that makes me go, okay, Section 8, I want all of your stuff. But just saying, you never know. Don't Don't make a decision based on an arbitrary factor. Low income makes sense for us. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I totally agree with you, Allie, but that fell on its face in the House of Assembly. It didn't even make it to the House of the Senate. Just like that one that said that we had to sell. If we want to sell, we had to sell to tenant advocate groups first. What? That didn't pass either. But it also gives you the mentality of our current leaders. Kind of puts you in their mindset when you see what they're trying to do to change voting. Just saying. Yes, I know you missed me. I missed you too. All right, you guys, I'm going to talk about something for all of us so we all understand. We talked a little bit about this last week, but not a whole lot. So let's talk about it, okay? California Civil Code 1179.04.5. Everybody got it? You're going to want to know this code, trust me. 1179. I'm going to wait for Ed to get in here because I just saw Ed get in. And here comes some more of my professional property managers. So I'm just trying to get you guys all in here so that I could tell you the California Civil Code. And Ed, if you're paying attention, you want to write this civil code down. I saw you come in. 1179.04.5 California Civil Code. Everybody got that? 1179.04.5 says clearly that until October 1st of 2025, we need to change the way we do our accounting, folks. What? Some people are like, I'm going to call Yardy. I'm going to call this. I'm going to call that. I'm going to have them rewrite our program. Slow down. Take a deep breath. You want to do it the easy way? Get out a piece of paper and a pen and use a column or ledger. We're only this way for 2 more years, right? 3 more years. So we got to do this for 3 years. Any incoming funds get applied to the month they were received in, and any overages go to future rents, unless the tenant puts in writing where to apply that check they're giving you. You cannot apply it to the most previous past due balance first. COVID rewrote the law on how we do our accounting, folks. Pay attention. This is in effect until October 1st of 2025. Got it? 2025. State of California rewrote the way we as landlords do our accounting during the COVID pandemic. That law change is in effect until October 1st of 2025. We must apply incoming funds in the month they were received, and any overages go to future months, unless the tenant puts in writing with pen and ink where to apply the funds that are coming in. That's how they get applied. We can no longer put them to the most past due previous balance. This started during COVID, during the COVID pandemic. And I knew somebody was going to ask me that, and I should have looked it up. I'm sorry, I don't know. Bingo, go with March of 2020. That works for me. I don't know. Happened in one of the bills.
Hey, Patty, is it allowed to be in text message?
If they're giving you a payment, wouldn't they write on the payment, apply to April's rent of 2020?
Some of them pay through our portal. And so I'm trying to see if maybe we're allowed to write them and be like, hey, are you applying this towards that month's rent and back rent or future rent?
You got to have it in writing. And in writing, to me, whenever I see in writing, it doesn't mean a text message, because remember, text message and emails aren't recognized by the court unless they're using them against you. So whenever I see in writing by the court, to me, that means with a pen and ink. Okay. And that's just me talking out loud. When they say in writing, that's how I read it, because that's how the court sees writing, is pen and ink, not a text and not an email. And if they're standing in front of you writing a check, have them write on the check where to apply those funds. Just saying. I know I'm going to get a lot more questions coming in, and that's okay. I'll do my best to answer them. So we really asked them, what do they want to apply the funds to? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you have this previous past due balance. The reason why I say that is this, you guys, and let me wrap your head around it, okay? The place that you'll get challenged on this is in court. A column or ledger is a really easy way for you guys to keep track of it according to the new provisions, rather than rewriting an accounting program, Yardy, Appfolio, Rent Collect, I mean, you name it. Any incoming funds, as soon as we put them in, automatically goes to the past due balance. Can't do that anymore until October 1st of 2025. All incoming funds must be applied in the month they were received. Any overages go to future months. I'd be telling the tenant, you have a past due balance. Did you want to pay anything towards that? Did you want to pay anything towards your past due balance this month? It's going to be a year. If they're still in possession of the unit, the money's not delinquent until 1 year after the protected period of the pandemic ends. So June 30th of next year. Okay. I hope what I'm saying makes sense. So if they're calling you and saying, hey, I'm going to make a payment, remind them they have a past due balance. Don't go into detail unless they want you to go to detail. Remember, you have a past due balance. Did you want to apply anything to the rears? I thought it can't be applied back to the COVID period rent only. Please clarify. With rents coming in, it must be applied until October 1st of 2025. And we should have been doing this throughout the pandemic. And I agree with Val. Let's just go with March of 2020 for right now. Okay. Any incoming rents needed to be applied in the month they were received, and any overages went to future months. That's how the law is going to be until 2025, October 1st. And either at that point, they're either going to make it permanent law or they're going to remove the provision, one or the other. If they make it permanent law, I can tell you why. I can tell you why they did this anyway. I'm sorry, I'm spinning in my chair because my feet don't touch the floor. Hold on, I'm like a little kid. My feet aren't touching the floor, so I'm gonna sit here and spin. Sorry, I'm okay now. Squirrel. Okay, what was I talking about? Money's coming in. I could tell you why they want us to do it this way. Because in an eviction matter, you can only go back 12 months. Got it? Remember, they don't want us evicting over the COVID pandemic. That money isn't due yet. They have a year to pay it back. Blah, 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 blah. Once you receive possession, the money becomes due on demand. Got it? The only thing protecting them is that they are still in the property. Once they vacate, the money's due. Got it? As long as they are in possession of the unit, the COVID pandemic money has 1 year after the date of the pandemic leaving to pay the funds back. So they'll have until June of 2023 to pay back the COVID funds. And then you still won't be able to evict. You can only sue in small claims court. Just so we're putting it all out there. LA County goes back to a very strict, stringent list of causes for eviction starting on July 1st. You know that COVID pandemic for LA County that was so restrictive? Right now, we've been riding the coattails of the state law. Boom, that leaves the end of this month and the county's moratorium kicks back in. Okay, so please be mindful of that. If you're in LA County. The other thing I wanted to talk about, if we're done talking about rents in the new civil code, the reason why they want them applied to future months and not going backwards is because you can only evict for a 12-month period. So they're looking at potentially changing the way that you and I do our accounting to help benefit tenants better. I know I said it. Don't get mad at me. I'm just telling you like it is. You know, I don't sugarcoat things. And then I'm going to talk about Civil Code 1946.6. Okay. You guys all remember AB 1482, that assembly bill that brought in statewide rent control? We know it as the Tenant Protection Act, or the TPA, also known as AB 1482. AB 1482, so you guys understand, is now gone. It is now Civil Code 1946.6. It is a civil code now, not an assembly bill. Okay. So Civil Code 1946.6, also known as tenant welfare. Sorry, I shouldn't have giggled, but yeah, you got it right. At whose expense? Oh, that's right. That's on us, right? Changes in the CPA. Okay, hang on. Back to back period. If I receive money in July 2022, I can't apply it to back rent for June of 2022, not unless the tenant puts in writing. Got it? And for all of those of us in cities outside of LA County, I have this to tell you. Be ready on July 1st. For the most part, we should go back to business as normal. But on July 1st, just so you know, municipalities, meaning individual cities, can come up with their own COVID restrictions. So anticipate to see some of that continuing in heavily populated areas. For the most part, Riverside County, Orange County, San Bernardino County, Kern County, Inyo County, Ventura County. I'm missing one. Hold on. Orange County. I know. Don't say LA because it's not LA. It's all the counties except for LA and San Diego. LA County and San Diego has additional restrictions and protections for tenants. And we may see municipalities come up with some of those COVID rules and restrictions again. So be mindful of that. I remember during the pandemic, I wanted to rip out my hair because in the beginning of the pandemic, individual cities, municipalities came up with their own COVID restrictions, moratoriums, blah, 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 blah. I wanted to rip my hair out. There was one for each city, pretty much. Everybody had their own rules. State law trumped that, okay? State law goes away on the last day of this month. So with the state law not governing us, it means our municipalities can go back to coming up with their own COVID moratoriums. So be ready for that. I'm just warning you. We don't see additional protections or anything talked about additional protections in San Bernardino County, in Riverside County, Kern County, Inyo County, Ventura County, etc. For the most part, COVID's going away in those particular counties. So I don't anticipate seeing additional protections unless, of course, we have a heavily populated area or a heavy concentrated of tenants. I mean, let's face it, that's what this has all been about. So be ready just in case. But if you ask a straight answer to your legal counsel, you may get a because they may want to go Google the city and make sure that they don't have their own moratorium or restrictions. But for the most part, there's not really talk of extensions in neighboring counties outside of LA and outside of San Diego. Okay. So today we talked about, I'm letting people in, so just bear with me. Okay, so today we've talked about two things that are very, very important. And they are California Civil Code 1946.6, which we know as the Tenant Protection Act. We knew it in the beginning as AB 1482. It is no longer AB 1482. It is a Civil Code 1946.6, known as the Tenant Protection Act. And the other civil code that we're looking into today and making mind to is California Civil Code 1179.04.5. And that goes until October 1st of 2025, and it changes how we as landlords do our accounting. It says that any funds coming in must be applied in the month they were received. Any overages go to future months. And if the tenant wants to pay in the arrears, they have to put in writing with pen and ink where they want those funds applied to, okay? I saw questions, so I'm going to fetch it. Has anyone been successful in LA County with an eviction for April, May, or June's rent at 2022? Anybody out there been successful? I've seen a few come through the law firm. We're getting lockouts. That tells me they're successful. The lockout tells everything. And you guys, don't get frustrated with the court process. Actually, let me rephrase that. Don't get frustrated with your attorney, whoever they are, Derringer, Block, Fast Evict, whoever you use, okay? And I know there's a bunch more. I didn't throw all their names out. That's just whatever. They're going to tell you that the courts are inundated and there's a little lag going on. Listen to them. They're not lying, okay? There is a lag in the court, and I can explain to you guys why. We haven't been able to do evictions in LA County for like 2 years, okay? That changed a little bit there. So we're finding the courts being inundated, not only there, but in other areas. So just take note. Landlords are learning they got their teeth back for the most part across Southern California, and they're trying to do something about it. With that being said, know that small claims and evictions all get generated out of the same office. So we have a wave of small claims cases coming in and a wave of evictions coming in, and it's inundating the courts. Okay. So when your attorney tells you that there's a delay, please know they're right. There is a delay. We are seeing delays where we wouldn't see delays. And I'm sure as more and more people get their teeth back, more and more people are going to be pursuing an eviction. So with that being said, please know your attorney's not lying to you. The court is not lollygagging because they're working like dogs, but the flow just keeps coming at them, coming at them, coming at them. Here comes more, here comes more. So they're getting inundated with new case filings, both small claims and eviction matters. And they're done in the same clerk's office. Therefore, we're seeing a slowdown with both of those across the board. And I mean across the board. City of Barstow, which oversees Victorville, Apple Valley, Hesperia, Barstow. They don't do Big Bear, Fontana does. Huge area, okay? They are taking 45 to 60 days just to get us a case number. So know that the courts are inundated. Your attorney's not lying to you, okay? It's bad. I didn't realize how bad it was until this past week when I was like, well, what do you mean? And I mean, some places are taking 2 months just to give you a case number on a new case filing. That's how busy they are. So we now get updates from the courts of what date are you working on today? That way we can let our clients know if we filed on or before May 3rd, that's where the courthouse is working right now on things that were submitted to them on May 3rd. Ouch. Okay, so just understand it's going to add more time. It's going to take longer. So prepare yourself for the inevitable. Okay. Evictions are costly and they take time. All right. So we talked about accounting today, and we talked about the Tenant Protection Act, because those are two big things we really need to know. What else is going on out there you guys are concerned about? That was not a beer. I promise I'm a Dr. Pepper girl. You can't see it. There you go. Dr. Pepper. Didn't want you guys to think I was cracking a beer. It's too early for that. Anybody have any questions for me? Any questions? I can tell you that I anticipate us all dealing with vacant units. I got a feeling that we're all trying to get people that aren't paying us or that are doing no justice to our business, our industry. We're trying to get rid of them. So lots of evictions. We'll probably see lots of housing come up for rent in the next. I'm a pepper. I am. we'll probably see lots of housing issues coming about next. And this is just me, my blonde brain, and how I see things. If we have a whole bunch of evictions going on, that tells me we're going to have a whole bunch of vacancies. Makes sense? If we have a whole bunch of vacancies, whether they're selling or doesn't matter, we're going to have a whole bunch of vacancies. What is that going to do to our market if there's a whole bunch of vacancies? Is that going to keep our prices where they are? No. If we have a whole bunch of vacancies and the market is flooded with vacancies, then we need to start lowering our rents. So don't be shocked, because we were going this way for a while. We were climbing up, climbing up. Right now we're sitting at a lull. We're at a, I don't want to call it a stand off. It's a standstill. There we go. I knew there was a word for it. We're at a standstill. Everything is just kind of coasting right now. So now we'll start to see move-in specials come back and things of that nature, trying to encourage people to move in. We most likely are going to see issues come about with squatters on our vacant units. So be mindful of those. Things that attract squatters, a for rent sign in front of the property, especially if that for rent sign has a phone number with an area code that's out of the area. It tells you this is a this is an absentee owner managing it from a distance. So think about what you're doing before you put up a sign and advertise that you're not in the area by that area code on your phone number. Okay, something to think about. Back in the times where we were dealing with heavy squatters, we didn't put up for rent signs anymore, even in corporate America, because what it said is, I'm vacant, come squat here. And we found ourselves doing a lot of evictions. We took down the signs and didn't have those problems. So we're going to go back to, in a very rapid fashion, you watch, having issues with squatters and squatters becoming a problem. We're already starting to see it at the law firm, but it's just a couple trickling in here and trickling in there, and pretty soon it's going to be a wave. Okay, but right now I'm seeing them trickle in. I got a squatter problem. I got a squatter. Okay. Just so you guys know, there is verbiage that you can use with law enforcement to try to get them out of the property rather than having to go through an eviction. So let me give you my best property management scenario and how to handle it. So pay attention. You show up at a property, you're going there for an inspection, whatever you're going there to do. And there's people there. They live there now. They hung up curtains and everything. You were just there 2 days ago, so they just moved in. So I always knock on the door. Hi, I'm the property manager and I represent the owner on this house. How did you gain possession? Who are you and what are you doing here? That's what I always ask. And then I say, well, unfortunately, you're trespassing at this point, and if you don't leave immediately, I'm going to have to call law enforcement and ask them to assist. I didn't say kick you out. Paying attention? Law enforcement shows up and I tell law enforcement, hi, I'm the property manager. I have somebody moving into this house on Friday, which is in like 2 days. And these people have squatted here. Sheriff always says the same thing. They have a lease contract. So I understand that, you know, they got this lease, they were duped, and this is a civil matter. You need to do an eviction. This is my response every time. You're right. This is a civil matter for them and whoever gave them the bullshit contract. I'm the victim here and I would like them ejected. I didn't say evicted, I said ejected, poof, kicked out, okay? If they say, no, 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 this is a civil matter, then say, okay, I'd like to speak to your desk sergeant. If they eject them and give you possession, hit the easy button because you don't have to do an eviction, okay? But be mindful and in the mindset of thinking, I don't want to attract squatters. I don't want to attract squatters. So maybe in your advertisement, you don't give the address in the newspaper, you tell them to call. After you talk to them, you fill them out, then you can give them the address to drive by. You could name an area that it's in. I know in some housing tracts, they call the tracts certain areas. So you could say it's in the Vista Verde tract, whatever it is. It helps. And we need to start thinking this way because like I said, squatters can make us have to do evictions we didn't anticipate. Okay. It's really easy for them to get in. The one squatter that comes to mind, and I've dealt with several of them. And I got stories. Okay, so now my brain went to this place and I got to take you on the ride. So come with me. Well, one of my property managers called me and said, I got a squatter in a property. I don't know what to do. And I said, okay, I'm out in the field right now. I'm actually in the area. I'll come by. So I came by, knocked on the door. A little older gentleman came to the door and he said that he obtained the property through an agent, blah, 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 blah. And they paid him all this money, blah, 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 blah. And he couldn't really talk to me today because his wife was in the hospital in the emergency room. She's having seizures and she's not doing well. Okay, so now I'm looking at crap. I got a health and safety issue. They're not going to kick him out. You know, I'm just going through all the steps and things in my head, all the process. And I said, okay, well, let me call law enforcement. So called law enforcement comes out. I do my little spiel as I'm the victim here. This is a civil matter between them and whoever gave him the contract. The officer then went into his car, used his cell phone and called the phone number on the bottom of the lease contract that they provided. And that lady said, well, I'm a retired agent. I haven't practiced real estate in several years. Somebody must have gotten a hold of my documentation. They used a Carforms lease, which gives an agent's name and information at the bottom. So it was kind of helpful. So she said, no, that she didn't provide the documents. This was fraud, blah, blah, blah. So the officer went back to him and asked them to provide him with proof from their bank statement of where they deposited all the funds that it says on their contract. They couldn't do it. So the officer said, that's it. You're getting ejected. Okay. You got to go get all your stuff, get it out right now. So the officer took my side. Do you know I about fell over when the guy's wife came out of the garage walking fat, dumb, and happy and breathing just fine? She wasn't in the hospital. She's full of shit. Sorry. So it does happen, but it does work. So try it. It's not going to hurt you to try to get them ejected. Keyword. In the middle of an eviction with the pig lady, I believe they have left now and my front window is broken. My choices are to board it up, squatter attraction, bingo, or I could fix the glass. I say fix the glass. Second, power, gas, and electric is still on. I'm guessing PG&E is still on, but probably will be off soon. Okay, let it go off. Is PG&E in your name? And yes, you can turn on water in your name or electricity in your name if nobody's in possession of, and put in an alarm system. But I'd wait for the eviction to go through at this point. I'll check Val and see if they filed an answer. When I get back to my desk, I know I'm defaulting out your other property on Lyerly, I think it is. I say it wrong every time. But that was defaulted, I want to say Friday. So I'll check on both your cases as soon as I get back to my desk and I'll text you. Yes, you guys, that's something I can do here for you is check on your case and text you when we're done with our webinar. Does anybody else have questions for me? Clifford, if you're paying attention and you're still on here, make sure you do your disposition of security deposit. I know that you may have already given them their deposit funds, but I need you to note on your disposition of security deposit or send them a letter that you paid them their deposit in full or you deducted a certain amount. We can talk about this later, but this has to be done. It's the best way I can help protect you. Do we have to accept Section 8 and how do owners like apply for it or use it? Okay, Ashley, let's play the game. Everyone has to accept Section 8. We can't discriminate against federally funded programs. If you say you don't accept Section 8, it's considered discriminatory against source of income. So we always want to encourage everyone to apply. We don't have to advertise we accept Section 8, okay? But we cannot advertise that we do not accept it. You have to accept it, okay? Here's the key trick. If the applicant meets all your criteria, you have to rent to them, no matter who they are, right? Same thing applies for Section 8. So if your minimum FICO score is 650, how many people on Section 8 have a 650 FICO score? What? I can't hear you. Do you require that they make 3 times the amount of the rent monthly? Yes, for Section 8, it would be 3 times the amount of their portion. So if their portion is $200 or it's $600, they still have to make 3 times that amount. So if they don't have a job, they're not going to qualify. Got it? I feel like I'm talking to myself. Are you guys out there? Is this thing on? Sorry. Yes, you're out there. Okay. So for Section 8, and everybody got it, you have to accept Section 8. If somebody asks you, do you accept Section 8? Absolutely. You must meet our criteria. Well, what's your criteria? We have a printed list on the front of all of our applications and on our website for your review. It says no evictions. You must make 3 times the amount of the rent. It says no felony convictions for crimes involving great bodily harm or manufacturing of illegal substance. Oh, wait, Patty, what did you just say? Patty just defined a crime. We cannot put no felonies. That is discriminatory. They've done the crime, they've done the time, and now they're released to society, okay? So you can't just blanket, we don't accept felons, but you can say, we don't accept felony convictions for manufacturing of illegal substance. That's making drugs, you guys, just saying, okay? So if they get caught for manufacturing an illegal substance and it's a felony, then because I don't want that type of felon in my house, I can do that. But I can't just blanketly say, we don't accept felony convictions. I mean, come on, in all reality, you could get felony convictions for unpaid parking tickets. Is that a reason to deny someone tenancy? No. Okay, so just think about it that way. I usually put on there for manufacturing of illegal substance, and I don't accept felony convictions for crimes involving great bodily harm, because that would be domestic violence, assault, all those things you don't want in your property. Okay, so I do it on drugs and on assault charges. You can ask for a FICO score of 700 and up if your demographic fits it. Example, you can't rent an apartment in the city of Compton with a 700 FICO score. The chances of you getting applicants with that demographic isn't going to work. But you could ask for a 700 FICO score in Beverly Hills, Sherman Oaks, in places where it warrants a high dollar tenant. If you ask for a FICO score of 700 or higher in Compton, and I'm just giving an example, you guys, you may find that nobody qualifies to rent your property and you've priced yourself out of the market. It's not just with pricing, you guys, it's also with your criteria. If I ask for an 800 score, how fast do you think I'm gonna rent a house? See the problem? Okay. If I say that I want a 650 FICO score and everybody that's applying is in the 585s, that tells me that I need to lower my FICO score to about 525 or 625. I don't need to go down to where they're at. I need to come a little bit closer to that area. Make sense? Okay, I see questions coming up. Let me go back to them. How does the owner apply to receive Section 8? You can go to a website called Go Section 8, advertise there, and then they may give you a sign-on bonus, blah, 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 blah. What you want to do is Google the housing authority in your area. Got it? Housing authority. That is Section 8, the housing authority. Everybody got that? Housing authority. And you can apply a lot of times. You'll get a sign-on bonus from them for Section 8. So that's a good thing to know. It'll help tremendously. Okay. As far as you signing up, basically you just advertise your house on there, a section, and then they have people that come as soon as you get a qualified applicant, then they'll start the inspection process. What about a FICO score of 700 and up? You can ask for, I always do 650 and up, 600 and up. You can make your score whatever you want it to be. But if your property isn't renting or you're not getting qualified applicants, you may want to reconsider making an adjustment so that your listing doesn't become stale. We've all had a stale listing before. We've all had it. It sucks. Is it better to have an empty home? Is it better to have an empty home than have problems? An empty home is a problem. For me, an empty home is a problem because an empty home means I'm not making any money. You look at it however you want to, but to me, an empty home means I'm not making any money. So do I want my property to sit there vacant? Hell no. I want it to pay me while it's sitting there, not vacant. Okay, vacancies are bad. An empty home in my town is a huge problem for squatters. Absolutely. Absolutely. I would go in there and put up window blinds and I'd fix that broken window, but I don't know that I'd do much else, at least till we get past the default stage. Okay, Val? But go fix the window. Squatting is a huge problem. And we're going to see more and more of it as more and more people get evicted. As more and more landlords get their teeth back for tenants that hasn't paid rent since March of 2020, no joke, okay? We're going to start seeing a lot more vacancies hit the market while people are scrambling for a place to live because we're the ones kicking them out and they're running over to your house. So watch out for that, okay? We're kicking them out, you're taking them in. That's how that works. So make sure that your screening tactics are spot on. Make sure you're paying attention to those tips and tricks as property managers uses, like, would you rent to them again? Only if they qualify. There's something wrong. Only if they qualify is right on the nose of there's a problem, but I can't tell you about it. Okay. So I anticipate we're going to see quite a few things happen in a very rapid fashion. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, rewind your brain to 2005. Kind of smells the same, don't it? Kind of does. The economy is going to crap. People are losing jobs. Businesses are closing. Factories are moving out of California. Yeah. So be ready. I've lived through it. I have lots of tips and tricks to get us through it. Don't be surprised when the concession wars begin, because they will. And if you have somebody that's currently in possession of a property and you have them in a term tenancy, they may tell you, we're going to move out. Well, why are you moving? Is it the rent? Is it closer to your work? Oh, you're moving because you found something much less expensive. How much is it, if you don't mind me asking? You may want to lower your rent to keep them there. It's cheaper to keep them. Doesn't just apply to ex-wives. Or not ex-wives. It's cheaper to keep them. And I'm being honest. If you're flipping a vacant unit, you're paying for paint and carpet. And if the prices are coming down, you think that you're losing, but the reality is that's just where the market's adjusting to. So you have to adjust with it. Okay. You have to adjust with it. Right now we're holding at a stalemate, if you will, but we're holding. That's a good thing. But when it starts to shift the other direction, all I'm telling you to do is be prepared. You want to keep the tenant that's in your unit that's paying you every month right there. So you may have to lower your rents in order to keep them. Okay.
I had a
Don't
quick question, Patty.
Sure.
So say that we have a tenant move out and they were paying $950 for rent. It's a single family home. I just want to make sure my information is correct, that even like when we go to market it, we can only raise it by the 10%, correct?
Kind of. Follow me here, okay? If we're in a state of emergency and the new tenant moving in is a victim of the state of emergency, which we all are, welcome to COVID, then it could be considered price gouging if you increased more than 10%. However, I've learned from legal counsel and several attorneys that if you do major renovations, modifications, not only did you paint and carpet, but you put in all new cabinets, you retrofitted, and you did major changes, then you most likely can do a higher increase because you can warrant the increase based on the changes you made with the amenities. Got it?
Okay. And
Okay.
what unit number are you?
I hope that makes sense. My typical scenario for a vacant house is to put up paper blinds, install a fake TV and an alarm. Just need electricity. So I'm curious about putting the electricity in your name, but leaning towards it versus a dark house. The call's up to you. Let's talk about it more. Why don't you give me a call tonight about 7 or so? 6:37 would be perfect. Okay. And we'll talk about what you're faced with and what you're dealing with. Cause it's a date. It's the best date I've had in months. All right, you guys, anybody have anything else that they want to discuss? Because I know some of us are eating our lunch quickly and trying to get things back in perception before we go back to the office. I know I'm one of them today. Anybody have any questions, anything pressing that they want to know about, talk about, be in the open about? Someone is trying. Sorry, you guys, someone is trying to call me in the middle of the live webinar. It happens. So if nobody else has anything else, I'm going to get off of here. Just to recap quickly, we talked about the Tenant Protection Act, also known as AB 1482, is not AB 1482 anymore. It is now Civil Code 1946.6. Okay. And the other civil code we were talking about today is 1179.04.5, and that's in regards to how we do our accounting until October 1st of 2025, applying all funds incoming in the month they were received and any overages to future months, unless the tenant puts in writing with a pen and ink where to apply those funds. Okay, so basically, COVID rewrote the way that we do our accounting until October 1st of 2025. No joke. And if that scares you and freaks you out and panics you and it becomes too overwhelming, I'm going to tell you real simple. If you got to go to court, just do it on a paper ledger. Write it out by hand. It won't take you more than 15 minutes, I promise. Write it out by hand.
Hey,
That way
Patty,
you're in. Yes.
Patty, I have a question. I couldn't get in on the chat stuff. This is Karen, and I just recently got a vacant unit, and thank God the people moved out. They saved me eviction money.
Right, buddy.
What I want to find out is on their deposit, you know, in terms of what I'm going to take out, what I'm going to put on there. Can I take out for, I had the place rekeyed and the mailbox and the door. can I take out for that and the cleaning that I'm going to be hiring someone to come in and just, they left the place pretty nice. They left it in good condition. It's just a little dirty. I need to do a deep clean.
Did they change the locks?
I did. I
No.
changed.
That's not what I asked. When they moved in there, did they change the locks?
No,
They
no, they didn't.
can't.
Okay, so I can't charge for my changing.
Correct. You did that on your own. They didn't change them, so they can't be punished for that.
Okay, what about the cleaning that I'm gonna hire someone to come in? The fans were nasty and dirty. I mean, just dirty, but overall the place was left, you know, pretty clean. Left, it was a pretty good condition.
Right, so
Um,
I put some finalization touch-up cleaning. If they're just
Mhm.
wiping a couple of ceiling fans and tending to a couple of smaller issues, that's what I would call it. And I would bill them accordingly based on whatever your bill, pass it through.
Okay, so I can't bill for that then. I can bill for the cleaning, bill them
Yeah.
for the cleaning.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, then I'll leave the keys off. All right. I just wanted to make sure, and you did mention Compton earlier, so I'm trying to figure out my pricing and so forth. I don't want to overprice.
You're not,
and-
everybody's scared that they're overpriced right now. And the only way to really find out is throw it out there. If somebody bites, hey, it might work.
Yeah, put it out. I'm gonna put it out there, but I gotta get the place clean first, so.
I
All
understand.
right. All right, dear. Well, thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Jay, it looks like you're asking how much notice has to be given for a deposit increase. It's, let's talk about this, okay? So as a standard operating practice and procedure in corporate America, when you increase the rents, you should be increasing the deposits. Why? And my people are going, wait a minute. I'm not doing that. You should be increasing deposits. Some of the properties in LA, and I'm using it as an example. Don't get upset. Somebody's lived in a property 20 years, rent control kicked in 20 years ago, and their rent is $600 a month. And the landlord's been increasing it every chance they get, but they never increase the deposit. So here we are in the year 2022 in a house in Los Angeles, and the security deposit is $200. What are you gonna do with that? That don't even pay for the locksmith, okay? So whenever you increase rent, you can increase the deposit as well. Also with a 30-day notice, because it's gotta be no more than you increase your rent. Now, follow along, kind of, because I got two hands up here, okay? I'm trying to turn so you can see them both. If you're governed and you can only increase your rents by, oh, this is a bad example because the CPI just went up. Let's go back 4 months, okay? Just so we're not dealing with the new CPI, because it will get confusing, trust me. So we're going to the CPI of 8.6%, 5% plus the CPI of 3.6, okay? Everybody did the 8.6 thing, right? If you're increasing the rents 8.6%, you can only increase the deposit 8.6%. Playing along? If you do a 10% increase on the rent, because that's what's allowed, you can only increase the deposit by 10%. Everybody playing along. 30-day notice to change of terms of tenancy. That the deposit is increasing to blank amount in the next 30 days. From this to that at 8.6% or whatever your increase is. If you're in the city of, I think it's Baldwin Park, they're capped out at 3% maximum. So if you're increasing rents, increase the deposits. Over the course of time, that is how somebody ends up in a house with a $200 deposit and a $2,000 rent. Make sense? We should be increasing the deposits as we increase the rents as a good business practice. Besides, if they don't pay the increase, you most likely can do an eviction. Just saying. Okay, so 30-day notice to change the terms of tenancy because you're changing the deposit amount. Okay, and then they have 30 days to pay you those funds. Anybody have anything else? Oh, yeah, here comes all the questions. But Patty, what if I already have double the deposit? But Val, if you have double the rent as a deposit and you increase the rent, don't you want to increase the deposit too? Okay, just saying. So if the deposit was 800, but his rent is now 1,200, do I ask for an extra 400 plus 200? No, Geraldo. If you can only increase the rent 10%, if you can only increase the rent 10%, then you can only increase the deposit 10%. So if the rent is now $1,200, you can increase the rent $120 more, okay? And if the deposit was $80, you can only do a 10% increase, bringing that to $880. Got it? Hope that clicked. Deposit cannot go over 2 times the amount of the rent. Correct, Val, but if you're increasing the rent, you want to bring the deposit up too. Got it? When you increase rents, you want to increase deposits as a good business practice. It doesn't help you right now in the moment. It helps you 10 years from now. Trust me.
So,
What do rent increases in LA County? LA County, probably not until next year. It's either going to be January or July, and I'm going to guess it's going to be July. Can you do increases in LA County right now? Yes, it has to be in an incorporated city, not unincorporated, an incorporated city, and they must not have been affected by the pandemic. Who wasn't affected by the pandemic? Just saying.
so how often can you bring up that deposit if you're lower, if you're way low on that deposit, you hadn't been doing that, you just started doing that. How often can you do that to bring that deposit up? Say like you've got a,
It does, as you can raise the rent. So if you can only raise the rent 10% annually, then you can only raise the deposit 10% annually.
okay, annually, all righty, because we did it this last time and the last 2 times, but there's still, one of them's really low, like the example you gave. And so I don't know how we're ever going to get that deposit up if we can only do it once a year. I don't know.
Well, do it here and you're at 10% now because you're in LA County, but you can't do it right now anyway. So if the deposit was
Okay,
800, rent is now 1,200. Do I ask for an extra 400 plus 1,200? No, I thought I explained that. Increase
No.
the deposit by 10%, increase the rent by 10%. So the rent would go up $120. The deposit would go up $80.
Okay.
So I don't see any extra rent money there.
Okay.
The tenant paid $800 deposit a year ago. His rent is now $1,200. How much extra deposit can I ask for? How much are you limited on how much you can increase your rent? If you can only increase your rent 5% plus the CPI, that currently is 10%. I don't want to go over 10% regardless because it's price gouging during a state of emergency. So if you can increase your rent by 10%, you can ask for $120 more on the $1,200 rent. Following me? So you can ask for $120 on the $1,200 rent and only $80 on the $800 deposit. Why? Because $80 is 10% of $800. That would bring your deposit up to $880. Bingo. Now you're on it. You're on it now. Bingo. That's a pittance. I don't know what that means. I'm blonde, remember? I know. It is a very small amount. But if that's all you can do, do it. Because over time, it shows. Like if I have a double deposit on almost all my rentals. Why? Because it's what I can collect. Okay, just saying. One of mine has a $500 deposit, and I'll explain that to you in a bit. Okay, why did Patty rent a house to somebody with a $500 security deposit? Because they have a 750 FICO score. They don't want to screw up, and really good jobs. Most of the time when I rent to somebody with only a $500 deposit, chances are they're going to get that whole $500 back when they vacate. Everybody's like, huh? In a concession, when you're trying to get your property rented, try lowering the deposit and raising the FICO score. I mean, somebody that's got a high FICO score isn't going to want to do anything to screw that up. Could life happen to them? Absolutely, but it's a risk I'm willing to take. Okay, I saw something else. Dennis Block said you can collect the entire rent amount. Dennis Block said you can collect the entire rent amount. Okay, I don't know what we're talking about, so hold on. He advised a guy to ask for an extra $15,000, the monthly rent. And then he advised serving an eviction notice when the tenant didn't pay that $15,000 deposit. I'm not an attorney, and I'm not trying to litigate anything. I'm trying to get you to err on the side of caution and protect yourselves. As far as raising somebody's deposit, how could you raise their deposit $15,000 unless their rent is $7,500? Understand, you can only take 2 times the amount of the rent on a vacant unit. California state law. The rent was $15,000 a month. Okay, then he could have raised the deposit. When he didn't pay it, he could have constituted an eviction. Absolutely. And I would see that as price gouging during a state of emergency, but when you're dealing with those types of numbers in rental properties, let's face it, most of us don't have those kind of rentals. So we're not dealing with that kind of a situation. And my job is to get you guys to err on the side of caution and follow the law so that you don't end up in litigation. Right? My idea is to keep you out of court. An attorney's idea is to get you in there because that's how they get paid. I don't like court. It costs me a lot of money. I don't want you to have to go to court for the same reason. It costs you a lot of money. It's the most expensive thing we do in our industry. We're bleeding time and we're bleeding money. We're making a mortgage by ourselves and we're paying an attorney at the same time with no incoming funds. It's bad. I hate evictions when I have to do them. I hate them with a passion. I get all landlordy. I need my house back. Get out. Human nature kicks in. I get a little rambunctious. I am human, you guys. The hardest thing I have to do, just so you know, and don't laugh at me, is screen applicants. That is the hardest thing I have to do. Why? It's the easiest thing to do for me. I've done it for decades. But when it's my own investment, I go into landlord mode. I don't care what's on their credit, just rent to them. I need the money. I have to give an application to a friend in the industry to look at it and tell me yes or no, Patty, because I get my landlord feet in there so badly because I'm bleeding money when I have a vacant unit. And I don't want to have to tell my kids we're not eating this week. It is what it is. But for me, when one of my units go vacant, I'm like, I got to get them in there, got to get them in there, got to get them in there, got to get them in. So I get you guys. I feel you. Okay. Come one of you. Anybody else have a question? Otherwise, I'll end it for today so some of us can go back to work. Okay. Nobody's got anything? California Civil Code 1179.04.5 is the accounting code that's changing our accounting until October 1st of 2025, okay? Civil Code 1946.6, also known as the TPA, Tenant Protection Act, previously known as Assembly Bill 1482, okay? And if you guys have not disclosed that you're exempt from AB 1482, California Civil Code 1946.6, or the Tenant Protection Act, do it now. Okay? Do it upon notification. All right, if you guys need anything else, you know how to hunt me down. Otherwise, I will see you next week, and you guys have a great weekend. Bye. Oh, maybe we're not leaving. I can't figure out how to turn this off today. Don't laugh at me, guys. Oh, here we go. Bye.